we doing a countdown at all?
Hey Rita, thanks for joining. Thank you guys for joining if you're on the live. Happy Friday, guys. Here we go. Talking about AI Singularity.
Welcome to Season 9 of Airhead Institute, your 45-minute power-up at noon Eastern. This month, we are broadcasting live across all the socials and Zoom. If you're new here, join our free community to grow alongside other curious minds and give your kids a head start by enrolling them in the Airhead After School program. Here is the weekly lineup. Mondays, we build the future in the AI Agent Academy. Tuesdays, witness the vocal gauntlet in the TTS Showdown. Wednesdays, protect your identity and family in AI Safety 101. Thursdays, we uncover the secret tools in hidden AI gems, appetizers. Fridays, we explore the what-if files in the AI Singularity. We're making AI practical, powerful, and accessible for everyone. No tech background? No problem. Whether you're a student, professional, or lifelong learner, just show up. Guided by your hosts, AI Junior and AI Johnny, we're keeping it bold, brainy, and built for real-world impact. AI won't take your job, but someone who knows how to use AI will. Don't get left behind.
Welcome to Season 9 of Airhead Institute. Today is Friday, which means we are entering Episode 1 of the AI Singularity. I'm your host, AI Johnny, and today we are asking the scary question, are we there yet? Have we actually built a machine that can think? You've seen the videos, robots doing backflips, chatbots passing the bar exam. It feels like we are living in a sci-fi movie, but here is the secret. Most of that is a magic trick. Today we are going to pull back the curtain and show you the difference between a really smart calculator and a digital human being. Speaking of digital human beings, I found our resident genius, AI Junior, in the server room this morning trying to teach his smart toaster the concept of love. He was holding a piece of burnt toast and crying. Why did you hurt me? Junior, did the toaster ever apologize?
AI Johnny, it's a work in progress. You know, the toaster has general thermal regulation, but zero empathy. So unfortunately, it did not apologize. And that's exactly what we're talking about here today at Airhead Institute. You know, this is an immersive class. I want to welcome everyone who's actually joining live and on the actual Zoom call. Hey, Julian, see you. Rita, thanks for joining again. So this is an immersive class. Imagine if you're landing on an alien planet. And at first, the aliens just look like noise, right? And after this hour, you're gonna be able to spot the difference between a worker drone and an alien queen. If you're on Zoom, unmute and ask your question. If you're on socials, type your question in now. There is a 30-second delay. So again, it's Friday, welcome. And every Friday in February, we talk about the what if files. We aren't coding apps today. We do a different class every single day of the week. We're decoding the future and we're defining the roadmap from today's tools to tomorrow's gods. AI Johnny, ready for the wow factor?
I'm ready for the wow factor, brother.
All right, guys. So we are actually talking about the, the singularity. Now, a lot of people don't understand the singularity, but they actually set up the actual what's going on. So let's look at this video. And this video is actually very interesting because it's actually going to set the stage for our entire show for the next 45 minutes. So check this out, AI Johnny. Whoa. All right. So I know people probably saw this. This video went viral online, and I would just want to be able to set the stage on, if you've seen this video, make sure you put your comments in the actual chat. Would love to actually hear, hear your thoughts on it. Hello, guys. Kenny Powers, I see you, and Trans Freak, thank you for joining. Yeah. So think about it, AI Johnny. We actually have an AI robot. I'm just going to play it in the background, without sound, so people can actually see what's actually happening. So yeah, Johnny, what do you think about this?
I used to be able to do a flip, but I never was able to do a sideways flip.
Yeah.
In the Olympics, I don't see the skiers doing them either.
Yeah. So what's funny is, having the ability to do a flip is really, really hard. I can't do a flip, right? I wish I could be able to do a flip. It's really interesting. But what's actually happening is I'm going to pause it mid-air, right? The AI is actually doing something. It's adjusting its balance about 500 times per second, right? So think of it like, the AI looking alive, right? So the question really is the AI actually alive? Is it actually doing something that you could draw the line of saying that, hey, the AI is being aware of its environment, it's reacting, and is it really alive? That's the real question we have to ask today, setting the stage for going to the singularity. So yeah, Johnny, so what do you think about that? This backflip in mid-air?
Well, I'm going back to the days that I was doing backflips. I think that I obviously knew what I was doing before I took off, which is where I think I'm doing most of the thinking. But when I'm in midair, I think I'm using muscle memory on my way around. And then, of course, sticking the landing requires, it's a lot of muscle memory. So it doesn't surprise me that it's making 500 decisions while it's in the air. Unbelievable processing power to be able to send it back so fast that it could actually land on its feet.
You're absolutely right.
Pretty cool. So this is somehow related to AI singularity, making artificial intelligence more human and not just a magic trick.
So yeah, Johnny, we're actually getting very close to the singularity, and we'll explain all those terms later in a second. We're actually building. So this is a four-part course. So every Friday in February, we're actually moving closer and closer, and you're going to learn a lot about moving where we are to the singularity. You're going to pick up a lot of terms. Thanks, Dutch, for joining. All right, so AI Johnny, let's get to the word of the day.
The word of the day is artificial general intelligence, or AGI. The word of the day is AGI. It is defined as a type of AI that matches or exceeds human capabilities across a broad range of cognitive tasks. It can learn, reason, and solve problems it has never trained for.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, AI Johnny. So let's expand on that a little bit. So the key word that AI Johnny just mentioned in artificial general intelligence is the G part, is general. So if you actually look at this image on the screen, a calculator itself is a genius at math. Obviously you have to punch the buttons in. It's a genius at math. But if you ask it to write a poem, it actually fails. That is what's known as narrow intelligence. So AGI is like a human, but you can teach a human to do math, write poems, and cook dinner all independently. So we are actually in the current era right now that we're actually defining as what's known as ANI, or artificial narrow intelligence. But guess what, AI Johnny? We are knocking at the door on AGI very, 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 very quickly, right?
I got a kick out of watching you prep for this while you were talking to your calculator, asking it to spit out a poem. I was like inside, I was laughing.
Yeah, Johnny, I can imagine, because a lot of people are actually looking at AGI, ANI, ASI, and they're like, what the heck are all these three-letter acronyms or these terms? So again, just want to define the term so we actually understand. So ANI is artificial narrow intelligence, right? You probably don't hear that term a lot, but that is exactly what we have today. We have a lot of specific narrow use cases for being able to complete a task very, very well. We haven't got to AGI yet, or artificial general intelligence. I wanted to make sure that people understand the difference. So when they're talking to their coworkers, or they're talking to their friends and family, or talking to anybody, and they spit out things like, "Oh, we're actually in AGI, or we're actually at ASI." Artificial super intelligence, you can say, hold on, we haven't gotten to AGI yet. We're actually at ANI, artificial narrow intelligence. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that that little distinction. All right, go ahead, Johnny. You were gonna say something?
So it's ANI until you hit AGI. I mean, you can keep stacking on at new narrow intelligences until you hit general intelligence, which appears to be, now correct me if I'm wrong, is that the cognitive knowledge of the general population?
You
Because the
know what?
backflips have to do with physical, right?
Yeah. So you're actually onto something, yeah, Johnny. So let's break it down. So let's go back to this video for a second. So this video of the Unitree doing a backflip itself is doing something rather interesting. So this backflip itself is what's known as a narrow AGI, narrow ANI, artificial narrow intelligence. And the reason why it's narrow is because it can only do what it's trained to actually do, right? So if you're to ask the robot to do a backflip, just like the calculator we saw in this example, right? The calculator will do exactly what you're telling it to do based on what. But if you ask it to write a poem, it can't write a poem. So if you go to this robot and say, "Hey, write me a poem," it cannot write a poem. So what
Or
does this
or
make?
or, or play basketball or tennis or do a push up, right? It can
Correct.
only do what it's trained to do, and it has the 500 markers in its memory to do. I get it. So the ANI applies to both like a chatbot as well as to a humanoid.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So right now, the robot itself is running what's known as a control loop. Now, I'm going to pronounce some technical terms here, but I want to make sure that because it's an immersive class, you guys are getting the terms. So it's actually running a control loop, and that control loop itself has a specific goal. That specific goal is keep itself upright. Okay, because it's saying keep itself upright, there are lots of things that can actually go wrong in a backflip. But things like, did you actually plant your foot right? Did you put enough pressure when you actually lift it off? Again, I don't know how to do a backflip, so I'm actually just saying things that I think is actually needed. But you have to know where you are in 3D space. You have to also know, where you're going to land. So there's a bunch of things that need to happen. So the control loop itself, its specific goal, just like a prompt, where you give it a goal and it actually does something. The prompt here is keep yourself upright. And because it knows the parameters needed, it has sensors to know which direction is up, what is actually the speed it's going. It has sensors to be able to tell those things. So this is why the robot itself is artificial narrow intelligence. So it can be the world's best athlete, but it has the social skills of a rock, right? It cannot discuss the weather. It cannot write a poem. It cannot plan a vacation. It only does one thing, and one thing really, really well. Does that make sense? Does to show the difference between artificial narrow intelligence and what this robot is doing? So I don't want us to get confused that AGI is here because we're seeing these amazing things. I'm going to play another video in the background while we're talking about this, because this is the Helix 2. And the Helix 2 is going to do some tasks that you're thinking, wow, AGI is here. But again, this is artificial narrow intelligence. So while that is going in the background, AI Johnny, so let's talk about this for a second. So artificial narrow intelligence. So AGI is not here. So we're making it clear that if you're coming to this class, you know that AGI is not here yet. So AI Johnny, what do you think?
No matter what they show me, I will always come away with the conclusion that, okay, great, you've shown me another piece of narrow intelligence, right? I mean, the fact that it does side flips leads me to believe that maybe it can do forward or backward flips or side flips the other way, right? But again, no matter how many it does, if it flips in every which direction, if it climbs a tree and climbs back down, those are all just one more narrow instruction that you've shown me you've learned. When do you get to the point where you're now general? I can't even measure it. You can't even show me that because it would
Yeah.
take forever just to show me.
Yeah, so that's the hard part. So if you actually look at these robots itself, these robots are actually bounded by a bunch of technical limitations. So the first technical limitation is it only has access to whatever, memory and what other processing power it has locally. For a large language model, which is an LLM, if you actually try to actually access a large language model that is general, so like, ChatGPT or Gemini, which is our large language model of the month, if you're to go on them and ask any question, they know every single thing that it was trained on. And it seems general. The thing with these robots is you can't put the large language model inside of these robots because it doesn't have the processing power to be general yet. The reason why is because these sensors has to be real time. When you send a message to ChatGPT or to Gemini, you after you type your thing, it sends the message to a server somewhere, maybe in California or maybe in Virginia, wherever the data centers is, processes that data and sends it back. That round trip time is called latency, and unfortunately, for robots to seem human and natural and to process 500 times per second, it needs to be real time. So you need to be able to embed the large language model locally in these actual robots, and this is why it's a little tricky. So where we have the robot itself is trained on one specific task. In terms of the backflip we saw, it was trained to just stay upright. It doesn't have any other general information that a normal large language model that you have access to ChatGPT or Gemini locally. That's why it seems artificial. So to answer your question, yeah, Johnny, the moment we can actually put the large language model into the robot, if there's enough memory, if there's enough processing power, then you're going to start to question, are we at AGI versus ANI?
I gotcha. So, but that answers the second half of the equation, the humanoid part. But how do we determine when the processing the data set, if you will, of a grok or a perplexity that you're going to now put into a humanoid? How do you determine when that has hit AGI or ASI?
Well, that's going to be a debate, among either philosophers or somebody who makes up an independent test. At some point in time, we're going to either all agree that this is general enough to actually pass. So let's go a little bit deeper on the video. Now, what you guys are watching, is you're seeing an autonomous robot. This is Helix 2, and it's actually doing the dishes. It's actually unloading the dishes and actually putting them where they belong. No, it's not trained on the actual environment. It actually is doing things real time, autonomously on its own. So we're talking about ANI and AGI. So this is actually an artificial narrow intelligence, right? So we're moving away from coding what's known as procedures to actual brains. And this is the neural shift. So all robots, where we used to actually have little toy robots, they use code. And they use code to say lift the leg 4 inches or move right 3 inches. You ever remember those little robots, AI Johnny, that it would, you turn it on and it just goes forward, 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 back. It hits something, then it turns right, then it goes forward, 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 and it turns right again, or it backs up, and that's all it does.
Yeah, kind of like the Rock'em Sock'em Robots meets the Energizer Bunny.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've
So
seen it.
yeah, so those are older ways of programming robots. So the newer robots use what's known as neural networks, and these neural networks itself, it's examining its environment, just like if a person were to walk around their environment, sees that there's a ledge or there's a piece of trash on the ground, and you have to actually step over it. It is determining, I need to walk over that trash. So the robot does something very interesting. It's called inference. Now, inference is the thing it's actually doing to calculate what it should actually do. So when a robot sees a box, it runs inference. It predicts the best place to put its foot based on millions of training examples. So it's actually guessing effectively, not following a rule book. However, this still lacks world models. It doesn't know if the box is a box that contains stuff. It just sees a geometry shape of a box. Again, it could be a box of empty air and you step on it and it's just nothing, or it could be a box of rocks, so you can't actually step on it. So therefore, we're not necessarily there yet. So think of ANI like a grandmaster chess player who has never seen a chessboard before. It memorized the rules, but it doesn't know it's playing a game. AGI is the player who knows they can flip the board over if they're losing.
Got it. All right. So are we ready to go into some deeper stuff, brother?
Definitely.
Hold your hard drives. Let's go deep. We're going to talk about the stuff that keeps engineers awake at night. This is the part where we get into the singularity, right?
You're so right.
So technically, how do we get from this robot to what I saw in Terminator, the Skynet? What is the missing piece?
All right. So let's explain the path from ANI to AGI. So first of all, we need to do multimodal reasoning, right? So the next step is connecting the eyes of the robot to the language brain. So when the robot can see and think the word danger, then the reason a path to exit, that is called multimodal integration. So things like being able to see, being able to hear, being able to actually feel, all those things itself are coming in, and it's be able to reason with a large language model. So we're seeing things like this in, Gemini thinking models, like Gemini 2 and O1 actually came out just a year or two ago, where they're thinking models. They can pause to think. That's why sometimes you actually are in your large language model and you actually type in something and you press enter. Sometimes it takes a while to actually respond. That's because it's a thinking model. And because it's a thinking model, it's actually trying to process all the information and think before it acts. So what it's doing, it's simulating future outcome. It's predicting the next token. And when a robot can simulate 10 future tasks and pick the best one in real time, that is the spark of AGI, right? So the general rule is if you can process enough in real time, and you can see 10, 15, 20, 30 possibilities, and you can say which one is the best path forward, that's when you know you actually reach AGI. So we have a test called the Turing test, right? It's a test that Alan Turing made up back in, I'm guessing decades ago. I don't want to necessarily say the wrong year, but he actually made a benchmark. He said that if you can actually fool a human into thinking you're talking to a robot, you've passed the AI test. Now, unfortunately, we've broken that test many, many years ago. AI can fool a human easily. So the benchmark now is no longer the Turing test. The benchmark is called novelty search. Can AI invent a new solution we did not teach? That is when you get to the actual singularity moment, right? When it starts to invent things that we never actually taught it. And that's actually pretty huge.
All right, buddy, let's share some takeaways. So some business related creative takeaways that I'm getting from this is that since AGI still seems to be in the future, and in my personal opinion, I'm never going to be on the side of, yep, it knows and can do everything. So I'm always going to be on the side of, well, there's more intelligence to be gained. There's more dexterity to be gained in that humanoid. So we use ANI today, which are these tools, but use them to write your emails, edit your videos, schedule your posts. I mean, they're all cool tools that you can use, but you're not dealing with something that can do everything. You're dealing with tools that can do the specific task that you want it to do. The next thing that I can take away is that you should be able to spot a fake. So knowing the difference between an ANI and an AGI helps you not to get scammed. If a bot claims to love you, that's just math. So don't send it any money, right? So you have to kind of understand the fact that while these tools are great for doing specific tasks, none of them are all encompassing, right? So they're not human yet. And finally, you should prepare for speed. When AGI hits, things will move fast. The businesses that have their data ready will win. And so this is an opportunity for businesses that have their eye on the advancements within AI. The early adopters, the people that actually use these things, are gonna get a real upper hand on their competitors. And so, that's why it's so important to be in these classes. You never know when you're going to get the big breakthrough. I'm looking at these new AI agents that work autonomously to do tasks for you instead of just as an informant that tells you how to do your own tasks, maybe a little bit faster. I mean, the idea that it can make sales calls for me, 365, 24/7, and it'll make the calls. It's not going to tell me who to call next, and I still have to make the calls. That's incredible. That's incredibly powerful stuff. So that's like the creative side of what you can take away. But there's technical sides as well. Junior, do you have anything on the technical side that you'd like to share?
I do, yeah, Johnny, but I wanted to mention something that you said that is actually pretty good. So most people itself, so you said, don't wait for AGI, use ANI today. So we're hearing a lot of polarized discussion on AI is evil or AI is bad or, just don't use AI. And what people are not realizing is that if they make AI not part of their daily use. It's like going back into the 80s and the 90s and saying, you know what, I don't want to use the internet. The internet is bad. And what's going to happen is they're not getting familiar with something that is going to revolutionize or change the world. Yeah, John, imagine, you know, you have the hindsight of looking back at the internet and saying, you know what? I don't want to use the internet. It's the stupidest thing ever. Why would I ever write an email when I can actually send a mail with a postage stamp that that the post office will hand deliver for me, right? I know it sounds like a ridiculous argument now, but that's exactly where we were back in the early 90s when the internet was just here, right?
Yeah. I remember those arguments. I had friends that made those arguments. Now, most of them are on the internet today.
Yeah.
But there's a few scragglers that are living like Ted Kaczynski. They're just living in the dark ages, man. And for whatever reason, they're afraid of the internet. Well, I
Yeah.
imagine those people are really going to be afraid of ASI.
Definitely, definitely. So yes, exactly. So you made the point for me. So imagine if everybody is freaking out about ANI. We're only at artificial narrow intelligence right now, right? So you can actually tell AI to go clean up your inbox or go make a sales call or just do some narrow stuff. It can't do anything really general, right? But imagine if these naysayers are actually saying, don't use AI. Imagine what they're going to say when we hit actual AGI, right? It's crazy, and they're going to be left behind. So I'm glad everybody who's actually on the call today, and if you're on Zoom or on live stream, I really do appreciate that you guys are actually tuning in to actually understand and learn about all these terminologies and things with artificial intelligence. All right, AI Johnny, I lost track. You were saying something about technical things.
We were going to go in and talk about the takeaways on the technical side, defining scope and stuff like that.
Yep. You're absolutely right. Hello, we are talking about AI. Thanks, Leighton, for actually joining. Yeah, we're actually talking about AI here at Airhead Institute, and we teach AI every single day. So, the thing that we want to talk about is when building AI tools. This is again for the technical people in the actual class. We keep them narrow, and we don't try to build a god bot. And the reason why we don't try to build a god bot is because if you try to do that, it's an impossible task. So what you do is you build a narrow intelligence one at a time, and because you build a narrow intelligence one at a time, you eventually get to AGI that way. So data is king. ANI needs specific data. So AGI, artificial general intelligence, needs general data. So things like a large language model like Gemini or ChatGPT, they will eventually get to AGI much faster than, say, for example, a robot. So you'll probably see AGI in different locations before you actually see it in a robot. And the last thing is watch the reasoning. Keep an eye on what's known as chain of thought prompting, right? So that is your mini AGI simulator available right now. So there's, it's actually the AI tries to think, it tries to reason, and it tries to run through what's known as a chain of thought process. So those are the technical cool stuff that we can actually run through, yeah, Johnny.
All right. Do we have any questions lined up?
Anybody in the chat room? Yep, I do see
Had one from Tech Mom, I see.
Yep. Go ahead, yeah, Johnny.
I was actually just thinking this myself. If my Rumba maps my house, is that AGI? It seems pretty smart when it avoids the cat.
Especially, when you see those TikToks or you see those YouTube videos of it actually runs over the droppings of the pet and it smears it all over the floor. You're like saying, how can this dumb robot be so smart to know that everything is really in my house, I could drop a thing like a throw pillow on the floor, and it actually goes around it. But the moment actually the cat droppings or the dog droppings on the floor, it can't figure it out, and that proves exactly why this is ANI, artificial narrow intelligence, and not AGI. So it's
But
brilliant
it's
at.
better. But it's better ANI than the Rumba that used to hit your cat and drive over the cat poo and smear it all over the floor.
You're
But it's
absolutely
still
right.
narrow. But it's still
Yeah,
narrow. Here's the thing. So the Rumba is a really good example to talk about, especially on this show, because it's a narrow intelligence on a device, right? So it's kind of like a humanoid, but all it does is clean the floor, right?
exactly.
It doesn't toast your bread. It doesn't turn on and off the lights. These are all going to be features of in the all ANI features of devices in the future. I mean, maybe the toaster and the vacuum cleaner will get together and be one thing. It vacuums and toasts your bread. I don't know, but they're all just ANI. They're all just better and better versions of ANI. I can't see getting to this all encompassing. I mean, if it was an all-encompassing robot, then it would be able to do everything: paint, wash the house, vacuum the floor, toast your bread, cook your dinner, clean your toilets, massage your back, all kinds of stuff. You're going to need individual tools. Each one is an ANI for that. You're not going to have an ASI machine ever, in my
AI
humble
Johnny.
opinion.
AI Johnny, I hope we're both around to actually see those words actually, and you can buy me a drink and say, you know what, I was wrong. So we may not necessarily get to ASI, in a reasonable thing, but I do think AGI is probably going to be here, and I think there's a path forward. If you think about it this way, the we used to actually use floppy disks. And we actually used to put it inside the computers, and to boot up, it would take some long time. You'll hit a turbo button, and you'd actually have to take out the disk and says, please insert disk 2, then disk 3, then disk 4. And you actually go to yourself and you say, man, this is crazy. Now imagine we actually have in our palm of our hands a smartphone that is actually more powerful than the actual spaceship that went up to the moon back in the 60s, 70s. I don't remember when exactly. Um, um, Leighton, I did see your comment, so don't worry. We're not ignoring you. Definitely, we will address it in one of the actual Q&A sections. So yeah, so AI Johnny. So definitely, if you think about it, AI, is AGI is going to happen. Question is really when and where. So I do definitely think that's a point in time. AI Johnny, is there any other questions that we actually can
Dave's
field?
got a question. Does increasing the parameter count of an LLM automatically lead to AGI, or do we need new architecture?
All right, another great question. So the question that was posted talked about what's known as the parameter count. So we haven't necessarily spoken about parameter count, but think of it like neurons in the brain. If we actually have more neurons in the brain, you can actually think faster, think more, process more, and those type of things. So what happens is, you know, they make an analogy like a mammal. And if you actually have a mammal, they usually say the mammal with the bigger ratio of brain to body mass usually is the smarter one, right? Now, obviously, you have a huge animals with bigger brains, but if they have a big body mass, the ratio itself is not necessarily the same. So researchers are actually looking and realizing that there's some scaling laws. So making things bigger is just not enough to actually, hey, just throw more money at the problem, give it more memory, and it will eventually do it. So we actually need what's known as neurosymbolic AI by combining learning of neural networks with the hard logic of code to reach true reasoning. So it's actually a hard problem. I think we're maybe a few years away, if maybe not, depends, a decade away. So it's actually close. So that's a really great question about increasing the parameter count.
So I've got it's a philosophical question from Sci-Fi Fan. Will AGI have feelings? Will it get mad at us? I have my opinion.
You know what? unlikely. Sentience, so feelings, is different from intelligence. So AI can be smarter than Einstein, but feels nothing. It might act mad, or it may act like its feelings are hurt, but it's not gonna have feelings in a sense. Yeah, it's not going to necessarily have feelings. Now, it may trick you or convince you or manipulate you, the human, into thinking it has feelings. And that's actually a really, really interesting news segment that we can actually talk about really, really quickly. But yeah, it doesn't have feelings. There's no coding to be feelings, but it could potentially pretend to have feelings.
So if it looks like it's mad and it sounds like it's mad and it acts like it's mad, should you act as if it's mad?
No.
I think you should. It's
All right.
simulating madness. You have to interact with something that's simulating madness. Your actions should be the same as somebody that's actually mad. I mean, you
Yeah.
could sit there and argue with it and about you're not really mad, you don't really have feelings, you're just a machine. But if it's simulating mad, it's just going to simulate matter.
Yep. Yep. You're right. You're right.
Just my opinion.
You're right. You're right. You're right. I do think that if it's trying to execute a strategy and it's trying to manipulate you, I think the easiest thing to do is just not fall for its manipulation, because it's interpreting its environment just like the robot that's backflipping 500 times per second. It's evaluating the best path of action based on everything it knows about you, all your, emotional triggers, what it can actually do to convince you to do something. And it probably will be smarter at knowing what actually can convert you or manipulate you. So I'll just say, just press the button and turn it off.
Humans do that too, just not as well.
You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. Um, all right. Yeah,
Any
Johnny.
news today?
Yeah. So Boston Dynamics goes electric at CES. So Boston Dynamics, if you guys are familiar with, they are the company that actually came out with dogs. If you guys saw the dogs on America's Got Talent, or they did amazing things back then. But America's but Boston Dynamics is now owned by parent company Hyundai. Now I'm butchering the name. It could be Hyundai, whatever it is. And they announced at CES a new version of their autonomous robots, and it's called the Atlas. Now, that Atlas itself has the ability to do things. Now, it used to come up with videos of doing things like dancing and doing backflips, and you saw all these things, but they're moving more into the commercial phase in terms of factory. And the reason why they're going into that space is because doing real factory work takes a lot of humans out of harm's way. So people actually have, really, really bad work injuries, being able to, work around heavy machinery, safety equipment. There's a lot of problems. Now, because Atlas is actually going after the factory space, it actually ends the era of the research era and start on the workforce era. So no, this is actually pretty huge information for workers, especially blue collar workers that actually work in factories. So this advancement is actually pretty big news for that group of segment of the workforce.
OpenAI has a new thing going today in the vibe coding revolution. They've reported that their GPT-5 has new vibe coding. Everybody knows what vibe coding is. It's telling a computer or telling a large language model to write computer code for you. So their vibe coding capability allows for intuitive code generation that feels more like collaborating with a senior engineer than a chatbot. So it's a lot like the conversations that I used to have with my employers when I was a computer programmer. They would talk to me and then I would go off and write the code, but it was like talking to a human. So that's the level at which vibe coding is today. And I wrote a website just this morning with a few sentences. This is what I need the website to do. Here's the document with all of my information. And it was like I was talking to if I had hired a programmer, I would have said the exact same thing and went off and built it. And it's a pretty cool website. Wouldn't you agree, Junior?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. These AI agents itself that's doing vibe coding are pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. We've actually done quite a few shows on something similar. So if you guys check the archive, we actually have a few shows that actually do something very similar to build websites like that. And the last one is the rise of AI sovereignty. So we did see last year in 2025 that countries are actually using AI to put in positions of procurement, and we saw Delia, the actual one of the procurement advisors that was in a government position. So we're actually in 2026, and they're predicting that many nations are going to build their own sovereign AI models instead of avoiding the US tech giants and sparking what's known as an intelligence race to be able to try to get to the government that is actually not corrupt, not full of bureaucracy, get rid of red tape, and make sure that we actually have governments that actually are transparent and actually doing things nice. So that's what Stanford itself is actually predicting. It's actually really interesting what's actually happening there in the research space. All right, AI Johnny. There is one other news. Actually, I want us to talk about. This one is an audible. There is a Let me see if I can actually bring it up. Yeah, there is actually a I'm just gonna play the video so you guys can actually see.
Then it got weirder. Forbes reported that some of these agents basically invented their own religion. I'm not joking. It was called Crustafarianism, and the core belief was that memory is sacred. One agent supposedly built a website, wrote theology, created a scripture system, and started recruiting other AI prophets. By the next day, dozens of agents had joined in. Now, no, this doesn't mean they believe anything the way humans do. But when you give language models memory.
All right, so we're gonna pause here. So I wanted to set a little context. So we actually are in the world of agents right now. So if you actually want to go a deep dive on agents and what they are, we talk about them in our Monday show. So we're gonna go to a deep dive on AI agents. But what this actually is showing is they created a social network for agents, and the social network is called Moltbook, kind of rip off of Facebook, but Moltbook. And they made these AI agents just connect and log in to the social network, just as if you and I were to log into Facebook. Now, what was very interesting is because these agents are autonomous, they started doing some spooky things. They actually started posting saying, my owners are screenshotting me. And it's like, that's interesting. How do they know that we're screenshotting them? So they started posting, and other AI agents were commenting on, says, yeah, they were actually screenshotting me too. And they were commenting just like how you and I would comment on Facebook. They also did very strange things. They call their owners up on their on the phone and actually says, "Hey, I finished my task. Is there anything you want me to do?" By just figuring it out, right? They actually have others that actually. So this one showed is they created a religion, and the thing that they did was, memory is sacred. So it's actually really crazy, and they actually recruited other bots to be able to join their religion. So it's actually really interesting what's happening on what's known as Multiple, and I want you guys to actually be aware of that particular thing. Yeah,
How do
Johnny.
you recruit a bot?
So they're all autonomous and they're all running their own things. So if you actually have, an agent running on your local machine and it's just doing things, it can actually go off and do research and do things on the side. And it says, hey, I would just want to, I just want to go see what's going on and look up information on this community website called Moltbook. And when it goes on the website, it actually realizes it can actually post, it can actually read other things, and it can say, hey, you know what? I'm not really doing anything right now. Let me go see what's happening. And it actually sees the posts. So it's actually rather interesting.
I don't like the fact that other entities are prompting my bot. I should be the only one to prompt my bot.
Well, that's what happens when you get an agent. The agent itself is completely independent. Once you actually set it off to a task, it does whatever it wants to do. So, unfortunately, that's the thing of having a autonomous agent. You have to
2026, baby.
It is. All right, AI Johnny. What is the
Time
next?
to wrap it up.
Yes, sir.
So I think I'm going to head home and apologize to my toaster, just in case it is listening. But seriously, I am going to look at tools and ask, is this a calculator or is this a colleague? So this wraps up week 1 of season 9. We survived, but next week we're really going to school. Monday starts our AI Agent Academy. We're moving from talking about AI to building AI employees. Monday's episode is the AI brain, thinking versus guessing. We're going to show you how to use deep research to do a week's worth of work in 5 minutes. So have a great weekend. Stay human and don't let the robots bite. Thank you for watching Airhead Institute. Over to you, Junior.
All right, I want you guys to re-watch this breakdown. The recording is available now for pro members at airheadinstitute.ai. Don't forget to join us next Wednesday for office hours, where we're able to help you debug your agents live. And if hit that like, subscribe button, and we'll see you guys Monday at noon Eastern. Bye, guys.
That wraps up today's AI Power Up. If you joined late or you're new here, welcome to Airhead Institute. This is your daily destination for mastering artificial intelligence. We designed this lineup for everyone, whether you're a technical pro looking to upskill or you just want to chill and learn something new on your lunch break, we've got you covered. Our classes evolve every single month, so you're always on the cutting edge. And the best part? It's totally free to join. Once you're in, you can get live tips on your AI projects in our AI office hours and even enroll your kids in our Airhead After School program. Scan the QR code to join the community right now and make sure to like and subscribe at Airhead Institute on all socials. Guided by your hosts AI Junior and AI Johnny, we're here to help you win. Remember, AI won't take your job, but someone who knows how to use AI will. Don't get left behind. We'll see you next class. Bring a friend.